In a world overrun by neocon warmongers, and with the mass media in the pockets of the cabal elite, there remains one bastion of truth amidst the confusion. One beacon of light shining through the murky fog of spin and Islamophobic propaganda. That's right, it's the MP Radio Security Council. The final frontier in the fight for freedom and fairness. I give you the Security Council.
أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني سائر في طريق الحق يا جند الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to the Security Council on Middle Path Radio. I'm your brother Zain. I'm with brother Zain, and today we have apologies from brother Khabbab. We have a few agendas lined up for tonight's program, and we have been tweeting some of those issues that we'll be talking about. We're really going to be asking you three main questions tonight, but before we go into the questions, I'll quickly give out our mobile phone number. It's 07477 080 248. That's 07477 080 248. We have, of course, Mr. Producer in the studio as always, and he'll be joining us tonight with some of the discussion, his thoughts. He's also going to be giving us the text messages and taking the calls on air. So again, don't forget to contact us on 07477 080 248. If you've got WhatsApp or you've got Telegram, whichever takes your fancy, drop us a message or a question or your thoughts and comments on tonight's program. So the thing that we'll be talking about, Brother Zain, thanks for the sound effects there, Mr. Producer. I like that. But the timing was a bit wrong on that one. It's been a long time. I know I've been away, so I know you brothers are holding down the fort here, and you've been talking about some of the hot topics that have been happening over the past few weeks. I've got a quick kind of update from you brothers, and we'll finish with those issues. Obviously, some things are recurring. What kind of things are we going to be going through tonight? Just roughly off the top of your head. Don't have to be precise.
Thanks. We've got the topic of the VIP paedophile
rape gangs.
Paedophile rape gangs or rings.
I call them rape gangs because that's the kind of language that. Well, I should really say English rape gangs because that's the kind of language they're using.
I wouldn't even call it English rape gangs.
I know that's just becoming like them. I know.
Yeah, but most of them are from the Christian background, isn't it?
And they're mostly white.
So white Christian rape
gangs.
Okay, I
see what you mean. You take it even a step further.
No, that's what they call it. They call it the Pakistani Muslim rape gangs or
Asian rape gangs.
Asian Muslim rape gangs.
That's right. So okay, that's one of the issues.
Say it as it is, isn't it?
That's it.
Yeah. So the other one we're going to go through
segregation. I think we're talking about just briefly talking about segregation today because of a recent news piece that we've come across.
Yeah.
We'll go into that when we do.
And I think the main one, it's been in the news the last couple of days, kind of thing. It's about the young children or toddlers who are now being called extremists or
even
terrorists,
basically.
For no other reason but because they're Muslims.
That's correct. So those are the three main subjects. We'll be probably starting with that last one that you mentioned. Yeah. We'll go in that order backward. So the kind of three questions we are asking is, for example, are you outraged by the idea of teachers reporting young children for terrorism or extremism? Now, that's the kind of question that we're putting to our listeners, you brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, whoever it is that's listening, okay, from whatever part of the world you're at. Let us know. Do you really feel outraged by the idea of primary school teachers having to report young children for terrorism and extremism?
Let's be
toddlers.
More. It's toddlers because it's nursery. They're targeting nursery.
Yes.
It's nursery teachers who are the
nursery. They call that in the UK. I think in US they call it kindergarten or something like that.
Yeah. It's actually a German word, but
yeah, probably is. So you're absolutely right. It's not just school teachers. You're talking about like really young, like toddler age.
Who goes to nursery? 3-4 year olds. at most, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. 5-year-olds as well. No, actually,
5-year-old they go to
yeah, that's true.
reception or whatever it's called.
That's correct. Yeah. So, are you outraged by the idea of this at all? Do you think teachers should be doing this? Is this the job of teachers in schools, in primary schools, in nurseries?
Forget about if it's a job of teachers. Yeah, just the whole thing.
I'm just putting the question out there
on.
for our listeners to give to think about. I just want to pretend. Oh, excuse me. I am being extremely impartial here. That
Mr. Producer, can you take that off? Here?
Make sure you
rewind
edit that,
rewind
please.
that
Yeah,
part,
some
yeah.
live editing, please. So I'm gonna try and give you as much of the other side as I can, basically. Yeah, and that's the kind of question that people will probably be asking.
Are you on the prevent payroll, bro?
Oh man, that's stuff. I was gonna say I wish, but even that I could not wish something disgusting like that. Another question is, what about segregation in because we're still talking about schools? Yes, this is like maybe for older students, secondary school upward. What about segregation in schools, through education? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? What do people think about that?
Why'd you bring that topic up?
Well, again, there's been another piece in the news that's come up. Once we get stuck in, we will be actually reading from the articles,
Yeah,
hopefully
sure.
give people the full picture there. And, the last question we're really asking, what do you think should be done about these VIP white rape gangs or these Christian rape gangs? Why is the white community not doing anything about it? Do you want the leaders of the white community to actually come out and condemn this? Because this kind of behavior is not obviously isolated. It seems to be very regular, very common, and very, what's the word? It has deep roots in some powerful parts of this society.
Well, the most powerful part, which is the government.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're talking about people like MPs, former secret intelligence chiefs.
Yeah.
We're talking about even some staff close to the royal family. If not, well, not talking about rape gangs. Prince Andrew's been in the news. Let's for apparently having, let's just say, sexual relations with in Florida, a 17-year-old is considered a minor, and therefore he's being asked to respond to rape allegations basically. There, so that is the royal family in that case, but but members of the household in Buckingham Palace, people who work there, have apparently been
I don't even know why people are so surprised. This has been embedded in the history of royalty, if you want to call it.
Yeah.
In the country. So why are people so surprised?
So we are asking the question. It's a good question. Why are people surprised? Are you surprised that these kinds of damning revelations are coming to the fore right now? Do you think there's enough? Are we hearing enough about this? From my perspective, and I could be wrong, so feel free to call in to say, mate, you're wrong on this, brother, you've got it completely wrong. But I feel that there's a lot more dirt that will be leaking soon, and unless the government bring in legislation, gagging orders, these are powerful people. They have the money to throw through the courts and to bring in gagging orders on the press and on even whistleblowers or even victims for that matter. Today, I think one MP was cleared, found innocent of some rape allegations. I don't know why we've gone into that agenda already, but that wasn't really what we were going to start with. But he's again started the debate, and David Cameron's also spoken about it as well. If you don't know who David Cameron is, you can Google it. Yeah, I mean, the ideas come up again.
Advisor to the Mr. Producer here, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
he's
who's the president? He's Barack Obama's personal advisor, I think.
Oh, right.
Basically, they're now again talking about the whole question of giving anonymity to suspects who have been accused of rape and assault.
If you're going to give anonymity to suspects, why not give it to all the other accused.
That's right. So why MPs? So all of a
Why-
sudden,
why MPs?
all of a sudden,
Hang on.
MPs are bringing this question. Oh, you can't do this.
Yeah. Why not those people who've been
But it's a genuine question.
charged, if you want to call it, or with so-called terrorism, or charged with whatever it may be? Why is it just to
Why only to rape, suspects? Why only to that particular
because
kind
it
of suspect?
ruins?
It's a good
all
argument.
allegations- all
All
allegations
allegations
ruin.
ruin people's lives. Rape
absolutely.
allegations, suspects have their lives ruined, their name tarnished. But so do those who are accused of terrorism and any other kind of serious crime, for that
right.
matter. Yeah. So why should MPs be given a special kind of card? I think David's already said, using we're in very lovely terms with the Prime Minister. So David's basically given the indication that they are not changing their policy on that, or the legislation hasn't changed with regards to giving people any anonymity. As it stands, they don't get any anonymity. So those are some of the questions we're asking. Do you think that's the way things should be going? What do you really think ought to be done about this problem, or do you not think it's a problem? Do you think it's not an epidemic? Do you think it's being overplayed here? One of the quick questions that we're going to take from our text line is. I'm just going to read it, but I haven't really vetted this, Mr. Producer. I don't know why you're forwarding this to me. I asked you to come on air. Mr. Producer, please take it on air. I know you're giving it to me. I'm kind of being a bit difficult with you, and I'm going to say, do you mind?
He's saying his mic's not working.
Oh, really? That excuse again.
Whatever.
That excuse again. We've got extra mics in this studio, Mr. Producer. Anyways, okay. Brother Zain will do us the favor. Go on. You're vetting it, are you?
Yeah, so
Definitely. Do UFOs exist?
So this question came in from someone called Hakeem. He says, "Are perks of the jumpies mean you're above the law?"
Good question, Brother Hakeem, whoever you are. I'm not sure if this is the Hakeem that we know. But in any case, that's a question for us, of course, but let's put it out to everybody who's listening and tuned in. Come in with your responses, please. Brothers are asking, if you're an MP, is it a perk of the job that lets you law? Okay, is that one of the perks of the job that an MP is actually above the law? Is that the case? I can see where he's coming with that question. Some of the things that MPs get to do and sometimes get away with. Okay, we can name a number of things. We can start with just MPs' expenses, for example. We can talk about the biscuits that what's his name? The biscuit bloke.
If you're rich enough and you're powerful enough and you're influential enough, you are above the law.
You write the laws and you stand above the law. That's right. So from our perspective, you know this panel very well here on the Security Council. The permanent members, we don't mince our words. Okay, we don't speak between our teeth. We through our teeth. We just tell it how it is. But we want our listeners to come in and say, Zain, brother, Khabab, you're getting it wrong. Ahmed, you've been keep going on this kind of thing with the anti-politician thing. Come on, there are good politicians out there. Tell me your views. Call us on 07 477 080 248. That's 07 477 080 248.
Or do text us or WhatsApp us if you're feeling a bit shy.
Yeah, I mean, we got a text message already, so they'll become flowing in, and Mr. Producer will be, inshallah, forwarding some of those on to us. So I want to go back to our first question, and before we do, let's read. The question still stands. Are you outraged by the idea of teachers reporting young children or toddlers from nursery, for example, or primary school? Okay, are you outraged by the idea of them being reported for terrorism or extremism? How does somebody look out for signs of extremism and terrorism? What is a terrorist baby, child, toddler? What is an extremist child?
He drinks halal milk.
He drinks halal milk.
Only halal milk for him, man.
That's it. This guy, obviously, this child is an extremist. He's a born extremist.
He built a mosque with Legos.
or he wasn't able to sing along during Christmas, the carols that they were teaching him. He was just bad at singing, or he's an extremist. One of the two. It has to be one of the two. We prefer the latter, or they do anyway. So the kind of question people are asking, and on Twitter, I understand the hashtag was trending. What was the hashtag they were using, brother? Anybody remind me? I'm gonna guess it now. It's toddler terror, if I'm correct.
Hashtag toddler terror.
Hashtag toddler terror.
Let me just check.
This is very similar to one of the previous hashtags that were used. Or signs of a radical was one of the other trending hashtags in the past. So under this hashtag, a lot of people have been making their views heard. Twitter has come to life with lots of people's different views from across the spectrum, by the way. But overwhelmingly, it appears that non-Muslims and Muslims alike are thinking this is, an absurd piece of, guideline, I believe, coming from the, government departments. And it really, this is the question, how can you say a child is an extremist or a terrorist? What is a child terrorist or an extremist? That he doesn't like girls, I remember primary school, girls didn't like boys and boys didn't like girls. They thought it was ew, right? So is this a sign of segregation, which is one of our next subjects? We're not going to touch on that much. But he don't want to sit in the girls' table. Hang on. Or he wants to be in the blue team only because red means girls' team or something like that. Is this a sign of an extremist child, do you think?
So is this, I don't want to be crude on that, but those who like the same gender, are they terrorists now because they don't like it?
So, a foolish argument like that could be made in any direction. I mean,
it's ridiculous. That's the argument.
Yeah, he insists that his food be halal in school, or he's learning the first chapter, the very first short chapter of the Quran at home. His parents taught it to him, or he is privately schooled at home to learn the first chapter. And in that first chapter, he's learned that Muslims, people who believe in God, they go to paradise, and people who don't believe, they don't go to paradise, they go to hell. So if this is the case, then is this another sign of an extremist? Is this a them and us mentality? Is this the ghetto extremism that the non-Muslim world is paranoid of? Where does it end? And I think, again, we keep coming back to those good guys at Cage. They've written a very good piece on their website. Go check it out, brothers and sisters. It's called From the Cradle to the Grave Police State, I think. I'm really plucking that headline out of the top of my head, really.
This was
very similarly worded, definitely.
That was the old article, isn't it? It's not nothing new.
Right. We've got another message. If a sister has asked, she didn't give her name, if a child shouts Allahu Akbar in class, does that make the child a terrorist now? This is so silly. This is fear gone pear-shaped and taken to another level. What's next? Scan a mother's womb to find out if it will be a extremist or terrorist. This is a good question from the sister. Where are we going to go? Isn't this already too far?
Yeah,
Isn't this already too far? Let's quickly go. It's a very good question. The sister saying, what are you going to do? You're going to start scanning Muslim women's, bellies to check when they're pregnant, if they've got a terrorist in there, is he wearing one of those Hamas, headscarves in their shmag or whatever they call them. Another question. Salam, presenter and guests. In my opinion, MPs are not above the law, and if they commit a crime, they should be punished just the way any citizen would, and perhaps even punished more as a lesson for the rest of the corrupt MPs, says Brother Joseph. Thank you for that text message, the sister who texted earlier, Brother Hakeem and Brother Joseph. Really appreciate that. So that's the view of Brother. He's answering Brother Hakeem's question earlier, which was, is it a perk of the job? When you become an MP, the MPs are above the law. Is that one of the perks of the job? And Brother Joseph doesn't think so. In fact, he's gone so far as to say that he feels that the punishment should be even more harsher for an MP to make an example. Yeah,
you're in a position of power, a position of influence, supposed to be looked up to
as an example and as a role model.
Exactly. And you're in this position now. You're saying.
You're gonna basically, what brother is saying.
Look at even Chad Evans. The footballer Chad Evans that's been on the news recently.
I don't know much about the football.
Okay, he's been found guilty of rape, and he served 2.5 years in prison. He's out now.
Okay.
Now every time he wants to play football, he's
in trouble.
He's in trouble because no one wants him in
on their club.
Yeah, basically. And people are making a huge issue out of it, rightly so, maybe.
Yes,
because footballers are looked up to as role models.
Young people want to be like them.
Exactly.
That's right.
And now these guys, not just young people, the whole country is aspiring to be like them, isn't it?
They're not leading a football team. These guys are leading the country.
Not a nation, not only on a in the UK, but leading a nation in the world. You know,
that's right.
The world is looking
Which
up
has
to
a very
these
powerful role in the world, as we know, in world politics. So you're absolutely right. They should be held to a higher standard, if anything, which is what I think Brother Joseph in his text message was alluding to there. Let's quickly go to a piece in the Daily Mail on the subject. It says here,
Daily Fail.
I got to go to these guys because
They're your favourites, isn't it? You're subscribed to them. You're subscribed to them.
That website is barely viewable. I do not recommend any brother or sister go to the Daily Mail. I'm just bringing it to you because I've got a variety of different other. I want to make sure that we get a variety of pieces from different spectrum in the press and media.
I had to get one from Daily Fail.
You had to get one from the Daily Fail, but in this case, they seem to have reported quite an important story.
Go for it.
They're saying here, the headline reads: 2 young children seized from, quote-unquote, jihadi mother, arrested returning from Syria as ministers call for nurseries to screen toddlers for extremist views. There's 2 big pieces of information here. It says here, 2 young children were seized from a mother because the mother was deemed to be some sort of a jihadist, according to their own chosen language. She was arrested also returning from Syria as ministers also were calling for nurseries. So you're absolutely right, Brother Zain, that nurseries have been asked by government ministers, not just politicians, these are ministers, and they are asking nurseries to screen toddlers for extremist views. If a child in a nursery has got extremist views, I still can't get my head around this. Anyway, let's continue reading. Excuse me. Children believed to be under the age of 10 were taken from their mother last week. The 25-year-old woman, she's quite young herself, was released on bail shortly afterwards. Okay, so she's not in prison. It's not like she can't take custody of her children. However, they have still taken her 2 kids away, and they're both under the age of 10. Now, these are very young kids. I'm assuming they're not secondary school since they're under the age of 10. So, really poor kids. And what kind of country and society do we live in now where children are being taken away from their parents, from their mother? I don't know if she has a husband or a father, but I'm assuming that she seems to be like maybe a single mother or something like this. Otherwise, they would have said taken away from their parents. Anyways, West Midlands Counter-Terrorism Unit will question her again in March. The children are no longer in the care of the police or the social services. Don't know what happened.
That means that's insinuating that it's been returned.
Yeah, without actually saying that, which may not even be the case.
Yeah.
So it comes as the Home Office considers guidance for nursery teachers. Teachers will be expected to identify signs of radicalization in toddlers. Right. We could read more and more about this, but really, it's not necessary anymore. I don't know what the big deal is. Seriously, check this out. So is this the way say we've got criminals, right? I don't know what they're doing. What do criminals do? They rob banks, for example. If a man has robbed a bank, do the police then go busting into his home and take his kids away as punishment for the guy who robbed the bank?
I think you just...
The reason why I'm laughing, I'm looking at a picture of a guy from London who's gone abroad to Iraq, I think, actually. And he's obviously in Iraq. It's a war zone, so he's got a gun. I don't know why he's got a gun. Maybe to protect himself or to shoot others. God knows. He's got his family there with him. But this is a picture of him with a gun over his shoulder and his baby in his arm. Okay? And this is in the same article we're reading about where 2 children were seized from their mother. This is another family, right? So it says here underneath the picture, British fighter who has been linked to Anjem Chowdhury poses with his newborn baby. So the baby must be an extremist. Look at that baby. The baby has posted a Facebook picture with a gun in his dad's hand. What a criminal child that baby is.
I think you nailed it.
Take her away.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that a punishment. It is a punishment. And that's exactly what they're trying to do.
If you're an extremist, we're going to take your kids away from you.
No. It's not if you're an extremist. If we think that you're an extremist.
Yeah, according to our definition of what extremism is, we'll take your kids away.
No. End story, you're a Muslim.
That's the point.
You're a Muslim. If you don't abide
by
the religion that I set down, we're going to take your kids away.
Or or non-religion that we prescribe for you, then we will take your kids away. Oh. And if your child is being taught the religion of Islam, For example, he prays or he shows he has for training purposes. He as he gets older, he will be required to fast the 30 days of Ramadan. So some children start early, like age of 10. They might start doing some fasts here and there. Okay, and some children at the age of 10 are keeping the full fast, right? If he's fasting, then we're going to take him away. This is a sign. This is what the ministers are asking people to identify.
That part of the religion can be, probably according to Mufti Nawaz, can be changed.
That's right.
If it can be changed and adapted, change everything.
Maggie Nawaz.
Yeah, change everything.
And Eddie Hussein.
Abide by the religion that they set.
That's right. Well, that's the that's the story, and it's not entirely the case that everybody is kind of in favor of this. I'll just quickly pause for a second and read from an anonymous text that we received. What will happen to non-Muslim toddlers that parents give toy guns to? Will they be arrested for teaching that toddler terrorist activities like that? So another good question. If a child likes to play with guns, okay, I mean toy guns. So those of you whose eyebrows are already shooting up, I'm talking about toy guns, guys. Yeah. So if your parents are giving you toy guns to play with, I remember I played with toy guns. And
every child.
Don't send the police over to the studio just yet.
With toy guns. Come on, come on.
No. I think they all want all the children to play with Barbie dolls only.
Look like Mr. Producer has been playing with a lot of Barbie dolls.
So, I mean, if you've been playing with your toy guns, water gun...
He's indicating he's combing the hair.
So, definitely, this is a good question. I mean, this is as absurd as it is. That is the reason why people are throwing the humor into it. Because what other way can you deal with such a absurd scenario? How do you identify extremism from in a child? What is a sign that a child is at risk of terrorism? What does that mean? This child is at risk of terrorism.
It's a toddler as well. It's not even,
what? What is
like
this underage child gonna do? When I hear the word terrorism, you think of September the 11th. I'm thinking like, how can you even talk about children in that same scenario, in that same prism?
Well, the definition of terrorism has changed, isn't it? It's gone from those who commit crime or those who commit atrocities to those who think maybe Sharia law is acceptable. Mm-hmm. Those who believe freedom in the Muslim lands is a basic human right.
Good point. I would take it even further though, Brother Zain. And I would say you're absolutely right. But wouldn't you say that it's even more than that, in the sense that if a young person thinks that she should wear the hijab, it's a requirement of her religion that she should wear the hijab. If she takes that decision, then she's an extremist, according to them. Yeah. If she thinks that she's required, or if he thinks he's required to pray 5 times a day, he needs to take break from whatever it is doing, whether it be his studies or something for a short time, a few minutes, he needs to pray. That is a sign of extremism, according to a lot of people out here. The right-wing government, the right-wing media, this is the way they've painted the image. I mean, we had that whole fiasco about halal meat. It became like such a big shock to them all of a sudden that Muslims only eat halal meat. Oh no, who is it? Pizza Express or somebody, Domino's? I can't remember. One of the pizza suppliers in the UK providing halal meat on its pizzas. What is happening? They've introduced Sharia law.
Hang on. Do you know how did it go down? How did that news go down? How did the whole thing go down?
I can't remember now.
Shall I tell you how it
went
down?
Go on, tell us.
You had the kosher people who eat only kosher food joining the band and said, no, that's okay. Killing them in that manner is okay because we eat kosher food and we kill them.
And we kill them in exactly the same way.
Exactly, so it's okay. Oh.
And then there was this whole story, one of the Arab, entrepreneurs, he bought out a well-known hotel which has a built-in restaurant where one of the MasterChef judges, he used to own that place, that restaurant, I think.
It was a Michelin star, wasn't
he? Yeah. Well-known guy. The baldy guy who does the MasterChef show. He's one of the judges there. Very friendly guy, always smiling, but stocky looking guy. He was asked about that place. The whole article, I think it was in the Daily Fail again. Yeah. How people were outraged that the restaurant no longer sells alcohol. Oh my God, the Sharia law has been introduced in, City of London. What's going on?
In a top rich hotel.
Top British hotel, top well-known restaurant, in a highly rated restaurant, former, Master Chef guy's former restaurant. It used to belong to him. They actually asked the guy, what do you think about, not serving alcohol in this place? Is Sharia come to London? He said, I've got no problem whether they want to sell alcohol or don't want to sell alcohol. It's their business. They can do with it as they like. It's perfectly within the law. It's fine. If people want to have alcohol, there are plenty of other places they can go and drink alcohol. He gave a very sensible answer. I was very surprised to hear that. So again, this kind of thing restores your faith in humanity. Even the article goes on to say that the kind of advice that the Home Office was giving about observing young children, toddlers, and reporting them to eradicate intolerance amongst the toddlers. Oh my God, the intolerance the toddlers may have. Like, for example, that's my toy. You can't play with my toy. Which toddler doesn't do that? Give me that toy back. You
heard a lot of that growing up, haven't you?
I didn't go to nursery, actually.
That's how bad it was, yeah?
I skipped that stage. I was too advanced, alhamdulillah. I was straight to anyways. That's another story altogether. But anyway, the article said that the advice that the Home Office was giving was actually described as unworkable by some politicians. Okay, while human rights activists said it would not help prevent the spread of terrorism. Are they supposed to report some toddler who comes in praising a preacher deemed as an extremist? I don't think so, said David Davis, MP, who told The Telegraph. Isabella Sankey, policy director at human rights body Liberty, also added that the government should focus on projects to support vulnerable young people. Instead, they are playing straight into terrorists' hands by rushing through a bill that undermines our democratic principles and turns us into a nation of suspects. So there are some very smart, very intelligent people who do have some universal values that they respect, that Muslims and non-Muslims would all adhere to, and that is to not treat anybody with a presumption that they must be guilty until we can prove them to be innocent, that they are therefore terrorists since they are Muslims. This kind of suspect kind of treatment. We can hear human rights bodies and now actually coming forward to criticize this.
I read not too long ago a tweet by by an idiot. I don't have to be open about it. And in the tweet he mentions, sterilize the women, Muslim women, and the Muslim men. Yeah, and make sure they don't have any children, so there's no more Muslims around, there's no more terrorists around. This is a joke, obviously, to you and I. We're saying, what disgusting statement, it's a joke, whatnot. But you know what? The government is on the line, on a path, and I wouldn't be surprised if they even propose this in the near future. That's the path that they're on now.
When I think about how far and how bad it has gotten, I wonder why the rest of the society hasn't, is not up in arms about this. I think people are thinking, well, it's just the Muslims and their kids being taken away. What's the big deal? But this is how minority communities across the world in history have been persecuted, and things only got worse. And then they teach it to you in history lessons like it's some sort of something to learn from. When the whole scenario and fiasco was unfolding, when this kind of persecution was actually taking place, people sat by and didn't do anything. So really, it is a duty of the host community or those who are not in minority to really do something about this.
What I would say? I would say the House of Commons should monitor their MPs.
Good point.
And to tell us about the risks of some of them who are into their rape gangs and paedophilia. Because this is more risky than what they're asking for. What they're doing now is more harmful and more dangerous. And they probably killed more people in that way, because it was reported that 3 young people died already in their hands, and those allegations have been blocked, but nevertheless.
Very true indeed. We can see that's the kind of fair treatment we are calling for. If you're going to treat the Muslim community in this way, then you need to definitely treat everybody with the same kind of level of scrutiny. I'm not going to talk about this subject anymore because we have a related matter to talk about. I just thought I'll show you the Independent. The Independent is considered to be some sort of more balanced, I say in inverted commas, broadsheet news organization or website or paper, whichever way you try to cut it. But I'm just looking at their headline here on this issue. And the picture that accompanies it says nursery staff to be forced to report toddlers at risk of becoming terrorists. And the picture that comes with this headline, very big front page picture. Well, it's not front page, the article picture, is a picture of 3 ISIL fighters with their guns and their, turbans sitting there on the grass giving some sort of a lecture, I believe. I'm just wondering to myself, what's the relationship of this picture of these ISIL fighters with their head covered and their eyes, covered with maybe sunglasses and big beards and guns? What has that got anything to do with nursery staff reporting toddlers at risk of becoming? I just think it's laughable. The state of UK media.
These gentlemen
used to be toddlers, of course. They were toddlers.
That's exactly it is. That's exactly what it is.
And they probably played with Power Rangers. I don't know how old these guys are. I'm assuming they're from the UK. These 3. I'm assuming they probably liked Thundercats and I don't know what else.
Showing your age there, bro.
What do you mean?
Showing your age.
That was only yesterday.
30 years, Mike.
What are you shouting about? But you're older than me, all right? So,
whatever.
You're older than me. Is my gain too high, Mr. Producer? I'm getting a little bit of feedback on that. But yeah, we don't want to talk more, but I just thought I'd put that in the laughable article with a picture of ISIL fighters. And we're talking about toddlers becoming terrorists. Come on. Ridiculous. That kind of, it's just inflammatory. Again, this is I'm surprised it's the Independent. They're not known to do stuff like this. But today, I think non-Muslims in general have becoming very similar, whatever end of the spectrum they come from.
That's right.
They all seem to be feeling this unjustified sense of paranoia and fear of Islam and the Muslim
well, where did it
community.
come from, though?
I don't know. You tell me.
Obviously, it's been pushed out as the narrative has been pushed out by the government, isn't it?
That's correct. And it's also the more popular thing to remember. Papers, at the end of the day, they're businesses, and they need to sell, all right, and make money. And
because of that fear coming from the government,
they're not here like evangelists, trying to tell people the truth. They're thinking about what's going to fill their pocket, right?
No, absolutely.
So they know what the general population, generally the mood is quite anti-Islamic, quite racist even. So they're having to shift some of their former sensibilities to cater for this kind of an audience. And as we know, there are well-known studies on this and statistics on this, that the Daily Mail is probably the best-selling, the Sun is, I believe, and Daily Mail is probably second to the Sun in terms of sales in the UK. And Independent, I think, is probably right at the bottom of that table that I once came across. So you can see where they're getting, the impression that they want to sell that kind of story. Now, similar to this story, we're hearing, I think it was today that we came across this article in The Guardian, that home educating parents, they are objecting to council's home visit plans. I'm not going to go into the long article. We talked about this a lot, but it's slightly different to what we're just saying, in the sense that on one hand, the teachers are being told to look at toddlers and see if they're becoming terrorists. But you might think, the Muslims, like me and you, may think, this is harassment, this is persecution. Even my children who are underage are not safe from this kind of Islamophobic treatment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach them at home. Well, no, you can't, because if you do, the council will be doing home visits to make sure that you are not teaching them Islam, basically. Let's just put it that way. Oh, sorry, did I say Islam? You're not teaching them any extremist ideas in your home schooling that you're doing. So those of you families thought, you know what? No more schools, we can't send them to Islamic schools because there's Trojan horses in those schools. We can't send them to Islamic schools in a Muslim area because all the students are Muslim and they tend to do Muslim things in that school. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to teach them at home. I don't have a great education. I'm not the most smartest people, but I'm still going to teach my kids at home. I think I can do it. So parents who may be taking this step need to be aware that now the council will be making visits to check if you are radicalizing your children at home.
How are they going to do that? How are they going to determine that?
The whole idea is ridiculous. The children live with us at home. Whether they're being educated or not, schooled or not, they live with us at home. So are you going to start making home visits to every Muslim family that you find? Whether they're being schooled or not, they're still going to be taking values from home. Everybody gets taught something at home. Manners, safety rules, whatever it is. table manners, basic things like that.
Welcome to the police state.
That's it. From the cradle to the grave. Go to the Cage website. Check
There you
that
go.
article out. Hey, you guys at Cage, you need to, anyways, enough respect to you guys. The article, it says here, it opens with a quote. It's a general mistrust of the whole population. We are not citizens anymore. We are all terrorists, says Rachel Graham with irony. Or child abusers, her friend Leslie Barson claims. We are a danger. We need to be checked and controlled. So you can see now, a lot of non-Muslims are realizing, hold on a minute, it's not just Muslim community that are feeling the brunt and the pressure of this so-called Trojan horse plot in Birmingham. They feel they have become the victims of a national hysteria surrounding child safety, reads the article, partly as a result of headlines about child abuse, partly because of the fallout of the Trojan horse plot in Birmingham. And what did we find out from the reports and the investigations in the Trojan horse, quote-unquote, plot in Birmingham? What were the findings?
It's all fake.
It's all fake. The whole thing was a hoax. So enter the hashtag Trojan hoax, right? The whole thing was a fake. There was no Trojan horse.
I found a
It's
letter. I found a
interesting-
letter. I found a letter
You found-
that says that basically.
Whose handwriting was it in?
I'm not too sure. I just found it on the floor.
Okay.
That said that
The school's being taken over.
no, I found that the what's it called, David Cameron became Muslim.
Oh no. You mean he infiltrated the UK government,
Exactly.
came to power, and then came out as a Muslim from the closet. He was a closet. He was a closet Muslim the whole time.
I think he's going to declare himself Khalif.
Dawood Kamran. Many people who have voted, many Muslims who have voted for him shamelessly, are referring to him. Well, people would like to make fun of him and say they call him Sheikh Amir Khalifa Dawood Kamran. So, David,
this how-
my friend out there, I thought I saw something you praying the other day, mate.
But this is how silly it is. Someone found a letter anonymously somewhere and it became a Trojan horse.
And notice,
Ridiculous.
you're absolutely right, but notice the use of that word, Trojan horse. I'm going to quickly talk about that for a second because I know that's not even our subject today, but maybe that should be our finishing point on the issue of reporting children for extremism, toddlers and that. But look at the word Trojan horse. Everybody knows what the Trojan horse is. It's when I think the Greeks, wasn't it, Mr. Producer? Those 300 soldiers, they Spartans. Is there a difference? I thought Spartans were Greeks. Well, the Spartans, what they did was... Same to same. What those guys did was they were outnumbered and they were going to be defeated by the Persian king or emperor at the time. So what they did was they presented a giant horse, a model, a statue or whatever, of a giant, enormous horse.
As a present.
As a present to the king, the emperor, and they wanted to present it to him, directly. And so their men pulled this thing on wheels or on their backs, and they got right into the heart of, right in front of the king, the emperor, basically, where they said, we want to surrender, we want to... Well, that was the impression that the emperor from Persia was getting, that, these guys have surrendered in such a way, they love me now, they're giving me a present. And from within, these guys are now one of us. These Greeks, they're now part of Persia. Let's just say they're part of UK. But guess what happened? Obviously, everybody knows the story. Inside of this giant statue or this gift or the horse-shaped monument, came out, hundreds of soldiers from Sparta. They were Spartans, and then they, launched their war from inside the court grounds of the king of Persia, basically. Yeah? Hence, this thing is called a Trojan horse. And we know that what it means is they come in pretending to be one of you guys, you Persian guys, or in this case, these Muslims pretend to be British. They infiltrate our schools, supposedly educating children, doing good work like the rest of us white people, and then what do? Is stab us with their extremism, just like the Spartans did. This is
dirty
term.
Yeah,
this is the
accusation.
discrimination.
No, the accusation.
Look at the racism. Look at the racism. Just look at the racism. These scumbag. This is the attitude that they have. Excuse me for using it, but we grew up hearing these kind of words and abuse being used against us. These packies, they come to our country, pretend to be British. Okay, and all they're doing is, teaching extremism. They're actually extremists. This is a Trojan horse. You think it's a gift to us. that we're benefiting from immigration, but actually they're here to kill us, they're here to introduce Sharia law or whatever. This is why they chose the word Trojan horse. What other similarity is there, guys? If you think I'm way off the mark on this and I'm really going into some stupid conspiracy theory, then you correct me on 07477 080 Oh, sorry. There is something actually on 074. I'm going to quickly see what the message reads. There's been a few. Let me quickly try and catch up with our... hey, what just happened? Somehow these smart devices... Anyway, it says here that a lot of these newspapers also have their own agenda and will back a certain political group if it's in its own interest. Very good point. Newspapers are well known, actually. It's no secret, actually, that a lot of newspapers do support political groups in their campaigns or before then. Another text says, this is all a farce. This is all just a systematic way of breaking the psyche of a Muslim that is committed to his or her religion. Sister Asma, thank you very much for that text.
What's it referring to? I'm not too sure.
I think this is the reporting the children for extremism, basically.
Sure, yeah.
She's talking about how this is designed to break the psyche of a Muslim, especially the Muslim that is committed to his or her religion. Thank you, Sister Asma. Anybody else?
It says one other text came in and says, I think you brothers are doing a very good job about that. But I think you may be missing the point. So what point is this? The point being that there is really a threat and all these measures are safeguard you and me. What else would you have the government do? Oh, this is anonymous. Someone anonymous sent that. Okay, what else? What else would we do? This is just what's it called? This person is saying basically these are safeguards in place.
This is to safeguard us from the extremists, basically.
Really? How do you determine this? Because it doesn't explain how it determines this.
There's other children out there, they could all blow up if that child, decides to detonate one day, there's
a history of children
wearing body vest bombs, into school. Don't you know about that?
Absolutely.
It's all Muslims do that in their
I think the more important point that is safeguarding non-Muslim from Muslims, because all Muslims were once a toddler.
That's right.
And all Muslims, obviously, all Muslims are terrorists.
That's right. They were born terrorists. They had terrorist blood in them. If their parents were terrorists, then of course they have the terrorist gene. Don't you know they've discovered this in a science lab that there's a terrorist gene. There's another chromosome that's shaped like a AK-47 or something like that.
They're born like that, isn't it?
I'm sorry about the stupid outburst there.
Whoever this person, whoever you text in, whoever this person, I don't know who you are. Yeah.
No. Thank you for the text message, and we appreciate it, but we obviously had reserved the right to disagree with you. That's what Brother Zain is saying. Carry on. Carry on.
Yeah, if you got any text like this giving in here, please explain yourself, and not just like this, because the thing is that all phone in, please. Because these kind of statements,
we can have a conversation.
Yeah, these kind of statements are ridiculous. If you don't want to. If you want to have a conversation, have it.
Let them say it. We're happy to take these texts on air. We're very, very, obviously, you know the routine. I'm the good cop. He's the bad cop. I'm an
honest cop.
Whatever, mate.
No such thing
You're
as
a
honest
cop. You are like the rest of them, mate.
No such thing as honest cop.
Exactly. So,
no offense to any police officers listening in.
I am your friend. Many of you brothers are.
Please don't
some
stop
of
me
you
in the
are
car.
plainclothes prevent officers, especially if you guys are the what do they call them? Slime ball cockroaches of this community.
What's that?
The Muslim prevent officers who are
Cockroaches.
Yeah, slime ball, cockroach out there. Definitely, we're not very fond of you guys. So if you got any texts like that, do keep them coming.
But if you want to call us,
we'd much prefer that instead.
Feel free. I'm talking about the prevent officers. Feel free.
Better still, come into the studio. We'll have some tea and biscuits waiting for you.
Promise you, they're not going to be halal.
We might have, I forgot the guy's name, Eric Pickles. We should invite him one day with some tea and biscuits. We'll use some of the taxpayer money to buy the tea and biscuits to the tune of maybe £17,000. Is that around good? What brand should we get? Foxes, or you prefer McVitie's?
When you mention his name, only one thing comes in mind, isn't it? Who ate all the pies?
Who ate all the pies? Mr. Pickles. Moving on swiftly. We want to go on a quick break as well today because not just yet. I mean, you don't have to rush it. Let us know when you're ready. Oh my goodness me.
This person takes back.
He's replied, answer my question. If the government has it all wrong, what would you have done? They identified geniuses at a young age. How not potential terror babies?
Geniuses at toddlers.
I think one of the government ministers is actually communicating with us today. Please leave us your actual email address that we can contact you on, and we can definitely...
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. What would you have the government do?
What? So you would have you
to safeguard people.
No, but you're saying,
is that the question? Yeah. What would
like,
the government? What do you think the government should do to safeguard people from terrorism?
So
what's your answer?
Well, find the root of why these people are doing what they're doing. Find the root of what. I'm sure they have a reason why they're doing it. I mean, whether it's good or bad.
First of all,
no, I'm talking about they're saying terrorism and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But in this instance, how are you going to determine a young toddler, a 2 or a 3-year-old, who's going to be turn into some kind of terrorist? How are you going to determine that?
Good question. There's really no way unless you deploy some racist tactics, some serious racial profiling and religious discrimination. If you do that,
on top
which
of
is
that,
what is being suggested, basically, that's really
that.
what is being. That's the advice coming from the government ministers, that if you've got Muslim students who are like 5 years, 6 years old, or whatever, or even younger, and they show any kind of religiosity at all, then you need to look into their families, their parents. And
so to answer your question, yeah, I would do jack all to families like that. I wouldn't go into nurseries and pick up a child and say, oh, you're a Muslim, you know, you're going down, you know.
I totally agree with you. I think that, it's really, I'm not going to entertain the question much because I think he's just messing around with us, to be honest. Seriously, I don't think any person, even a racist, doesn't think, except from his racist belief, he doesn't really think that that child is the bomber, that child will eventually... This is like what somebody commented the other day. It's describing, this is the problem with Firaun. He was the Pharaoh. When he heard Moses, he had the dream, didn't he? That Moses would be born and that Musa alayhi salam, peace be upon him, that he would come and take away his kingdom from him, that he would replace Pharaoh as the leader of his people, right? And he, obviously, these people who love their power, they're afraid of this, they hate this, they would not want to give up their position and their influence. So he started looking house to house, sent, search parties to every home to look for this Moses, okay? And of course, he failed to find Moses. We know the story. The Christians know the story. The Jews know the story. And Muslims, of course, know this is the same Moses. Alhamdulillah, Allah made sure that he does face Moses, and his dream did absolutely come true. And it's the same paranoia that the racists and the Islamophobe bigots in this country and abroad, Europe and the West in general, are suffering from. That they fear that before they become terrorists, let us stop these Muslims now. And that is the reason why you referred to that tweet that or Facebook post a lady mentioned, saying something like, let's just abort these Muslim, children before they're even born. Let's sterilize their parents from even being able to have any children at all. That would just solve them. Now, I don't know if she was being sarcastic. I didn't think she was being sarcastic. If somebody did say that as a criticism, as a rhetorical question, then it would make sense that, why not? If you're going to go all this far to homeschooling parents, go check on them, you're going to go to the nurseries and go report the children, then why not just sterilize their parents? Tell Muslims, introduce a new law where Muslims can't have children.
To decimate a nation, what happened in the past? Just look at the past, whether it was the Aborigines in Australia or the Native Americans in America.
The true Americans.
Yeah,
the originals.
That's right.
Then the fakes came from the fake white man came and took their land.
They were historically proven, and they're still battling now, legal battles.
They're still called terrorists back then.
Yeah, they were taken out their homes, children,
yes,
and were brought up in camps or in ministries and all that.
That's right.
Yeah, and they were obviously their language was taken.
They were indoctrinated. They were completely, let's say, culturally cleansed of all of their full identity, their language, their...
It totally destroyed those nations.
The very fabric of that original society of the Native Americans.
It totally destroyed their people, the Aborigines in Australia.
Yeah, they call them names like Red Indian, for example, and they called them the Redskins or whatever they call them. And they had they were terrorists.
But they're feeling that pain. They're still feeling up until today. I watched part of a documentary.
They're still fighting for
Yeah,
them,
no, I watched a part of a documentary where this guy, he doesn't know where his parents are from or his cousin. He's got nobody. He's now like in 70 or whatever years old. He has no family. He has nobody. He knows nobody in his life.
It's true, very true.
You understand?
We haven't got much other material on the next two subjects that we wanted to talk about.
think
But again, a story's come forward. You want to say something, Brother Zain?
Yeah, because we've got only like 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think
Let's quickly just read the headlines. All right. So today, not just today, but over the last couple of days, I'm going to quickly read the headline from the Mirror. It says here that boys should be educated separately from girls so that their boys are not intimidated, claims an education chief. That's the headline.
this is some kind of Sharia business here, bro. Trojan horse.
Yeah,
again.
so I can see that, like you said, Dawood Kamran was a closet Muslim and he led the country and became David Cameron. And this education chief is also another closet Sharia-loving Muslim. He's obviously calling for separate education for boys and girls.
Hang on, this was the big accusation on one of the schools, 6 schools in Tower Hamlets, isn't it?
That's correct. The 6 schools that were deemed, unsatisfactory or whatever, the downgrading that they got from being very,
It was actually a Church of England Christian school.
Christian
anyway.
school. That's right. But it wasn't populated by mostly Muslims.
That's right.
And apparently they were having some sort of segregation issues over there. Boys didn't sit with girls and girls didn't sit with boys. Right opposite a school that was only a boys' school to begin with.
School, yeah.
And I went to schools, and our school, for example, was boys' classes, girls' classes separate. They were completely separate. Everything was separate. So I think my former headmaster was obviously a Sharia-toting, Bin Laden lover. Probably he's obviously a fan of the Taliban. So if you're listening, Mr. Headmaster, I'm going to report you tomorrow.
If you're still alive.
If you're still around, mate. But again, you got away with it, definitely. So this education chief, I mean, let's see, what's his name? Is he coming up here at all? Here we go. Let's quickly read that first paragraph. Boys need to be educated separately from girls during secondary school to avoid them from being intimidated by girls. I added the word by girls. The new head of the Girls' Schools Association has claimed the move would help keep Alan Jones is his name. There you go. President of the body which represents independent girls' schools has claimed. All right, so that's one story. But we know there was a whole big furore, not just with the 6 schools, but also in university. Mm-hmm. We had the issue with a lot of universities, namely University of East London, for example, very local to us. They actually banned the Islamic Society from holding any events where women and men sat in the same hall, basically, but had seats for women and seats for men. So this is, I've got that old article here. It's in the Telegraph. The University of East London has banned segregated Muslim events from its premises. We also had Boris Johnson saying ban Islamic groups teaching segregated university lectures.
So you need to actually take this guy out of his position because he's actually promoting this.
That's right. And Boris Johnson went as far as to say that universities should stop pandering to Islamic extremists by allowing segregated lectures. That's what Boris Johnson had to say. But today we have the story of Alan Jones saying that it needs to be segregated. Boys should be separated. Should be educated separately from girls. There were other stories. You know what we're going to talk about, which we don't have time to really give the full justice to. Celebrities in the UK, well-known people, all involved in serious child abuse activity, serious stuff, gross brutality. Rock singer Ian Watkins. Okay, he's a paedophile rock singer. I'm reading from MSN.com. Paedophile rock singer Ian Watkins made a sex tape with a girlfriend where they shared their fantasies of child abuse. They said that they wanted to have a child together, him and his girlfriend, so that they could rape the baby that they have. I'm so sorry, brothers and sisters, for even reading from this article. Okay, they said they would rape the baby as soon as the baby is born. This is how dirty, how inhumane these beasts walking this country have become. And they're worried about Rotherham and Asian rape gangs. The bloody racists.
Disgusting.
bloody racists. Go clean up your own household. You dirty scumbags. You men and your women doing the exact same thing. I'm not holding back here today because I'm fed up of reading about Rotherham and police chiefs resigning because not enough was done about, Asian rape gangs in Rotherham. We know it's a serious crime. It disgusts us equally when we hear about them. And the same applies to when others in other communities are doing it. It's nothing to do with colour or religion.
It's disgusting. I think that's the whole point.
Universally disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, this is the whole point.
And actually, if you were to ask extremist terrorists, I'm using their language, what they think about child abuse, they'd say, off with the heads of these, send them to ISIS. We'll see what those boys do to these child abusers. The extremists are against this. I mean, you can't have it both ways, guys. You can't say Muslims are rapists and Muslims are terrorist extremists. The religious zealots that don't allow men and women to have interaction together. They ban girls from going to school. They cover the women so that they cannot be seen, yet call them rapists and child abuse and stuff. You can't have it both ways. People in this country, I still got faith in them. They ain't that stupid, okay? On one hand, they're rapists, they're dirty alcohol and drug smoking and alcohol drinking, grooming gangs. And the next minute, they're, so religious that they're not allowed to shake hands with women. Oh, my God, what a racist, what a terrorist this guy is. So, that's a story. I'm sorry. We're running out of time. You want to say something, brother?
No, I think we're running out of time. So I was going to mention, we haven't actually mentioned Django of the Week for this week. But I have number one.
You already have somebody you are nominating.
Hashtag Django of the Week, Theresa May.
Theresa May? Was
it Theresa May? What's her name?
Theresa May.
Yeah, Theresa May.
Because of the toddler terror
That's right.
advice that the ministers are putting out.
That's right.
Yes, I think Theresa May is a very good candidate. And I fully back you on that one.
Mr. Producer has got someone?
Mr. Producer, have you got any other
no, he's going with
names?
us.
He's fully backing this one. There's unanimous agreement today on who hashtag Django of the Week is for this program. And I think we're going to agree and go with Theresa May. So you'll be seeing a very lovely picture of Theresa May framed up on our Twitter wall. So go follow us on Twitter at Middle Path Radio and check out who Django of the Week is. And if you disagree with Django of the Week this week, then definitely, by all means, put forward your own ideas of who you think ought to have been Django of this week. If not, tune in next week prior to this program. Put in your ideas of who you think Django of the Week and why. Okay, that's hashtag Django of the Week at Middle Path Radio, one word. Okay, we have to really wrap up here, but the headline really we wanted to talk about, I was leaving kind of like the best one till last, was another report that a Tory MP, somebody said they're not the Tory party, they're called the Torah party, because I think of a recent statement that David Cameron made to the Jewish community during, what was it, Chanukah? Or do they call it Hanukkah? Chanukah like Hamas? So he made a very, very powerful Jewish statement to the Jewish people in that gathering. So it's a Torah party. So a Torah MP who was Thatcher's confidant raped my 14-year-old son at a paedophile guest house is a quote headline from the Daily Fail. So alleged victim says he was targeted by Sir Peter Morrison. Is Sir Peter Morrison as a 14-year-old? How does one become a Sir these days, Mr. Producer? How do you get one of those titles added to your name? You have to get an OBE or a MBE from...
or rape a 14-year-old boy.
Yes, you could get that, and the Queen would give you a OBE for that. It's part of the being some sort of a knight of the empire or something like that. So if that's what is required to become a Sir in this country, no wonder there are so many Sirs out there. Anyway, so he claims, this is a serious story, man. He claims he was taken to Elm Guest House in London and plied with drink. This is very similar to what the Asian rape gangs are doing, but let's not talk about Rotherham right now. Alleged victim's father said he let him go because Morrison seemed nice. The police actually covered up the crime after he escaped and made a report, he claims. It's just the latest in a string of allegations against senior political figures. And we know there'll be more to come on this. We can't really read it anymore. There's so many. We talked about an MI6 chief who raped a child in this elite pedophile ring. You were going to say, well, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was going to say I'm really interested actually to see the outcome of this whole story. I know it's going to go on for a bit, but let's see what it comes up to.
I'm worried, because these kind of things, they have to happen quickly, and it has to be like a snowball effect.
I don't think it will happen quickly, like the Rotherham and all that.
Those
things happen very quickly.
I'll tell you why. What I fear is these guys are powerful. These are XMR60. These people, they can read your email. They can tap your phone line. They're very powerful.
They
people.
make policies
They have
as
money.
they suits them,
Exactly. They're close with judges. They're close with legislators in this country. They can change things within a night or so.
I mean,
they're the same ones who introduced these terrorism bills. They're the same ones who approved these prevent schemes and so on and so forth.
But you know that they're waiting.
They're the ones who said MPs can, have expenses of £17,000 for tea and biscuits. They're the ones who say it's perfectly legal to do so. So that's why I'm a bit worried that they will do some sort of a cover-up. It's been covered up all these years, and it's only coming out. And it's really mostly one or two of these victims who've had the courage. All credit to them. For having come out and told the public about what's happening, what actually happened to them. So I'm a bit worried about that. We had many other stories. Have you guys talked about this already in the previous couple of shows, Brother Zain? Due to bereavement in the family, I wasn't able to obviously attend the shows or listen to them.
Discuss that, no.
The Henry Jackson Society. We haven't spoken about them.
We
haven't spoken about them. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll try and save that for another day because that's really interesting. And they're a big think tank. We'll talk about that next week. Yeah. Tune in every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Okay, on Middle Path Radio via our app or YouTube, because all our shows go on air live at 10 p.m. whenever the program airs. That is okay, and you can listen to us on the Security Council. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say follow us on Twitter as well.
At Middle Path Radio.
Yeah, and make sure you spread the word.
Subscribe to our channel. Okay, Middle Path Radio YouTube channel. Okay, to get all of our former previously aired shows. Okay, without any further delay, we're going to go and catch up with you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
In a world overrun by neocon warmongers, and with the mass media in the pockets of the cabal elite, there remains one bastion of truth amidst the confusion. One beacon of light shining through the murky fog of spin and Islamophobic propaganda. That's right. It's the MP Radio Security Council. The final frontier in the fight for freedom and fairness. I give you the Security Council.
أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد أبدا لن نحيد عن خطى الإيمان دربنا درب قويم دربنا درب قويم بالهدى القرآني سائر في طريق